right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the STUDS podcast. This is Mike here. We got a interesting episode to discuss about. We got Keith. Keith, how you doing, man?
Hey, Mike, I'm doing all right, hanging in there, taking it one day at a time, as always. How are you doing?
Are you having a hard time?
No, I said I'm taking it one day at a time.
All right, as long as you're doing all right.
Yeah, I'm doing okay.
All right.
I'm doing all right.
Louie, are you taking it 2 days at a time?
Nah, Mike, I'm taking it one day at a time, one meal at a time, one poop at a time, one sleep
That's
at
right.
a time.
That's
Wow.
that's what you got to do.
Hopefully it's a soft stool.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
After all that fiber, all those granola bars.
This week, very fascinating week with events. You had a lot going on, especially the one that came out of nowhere on Wednesday. About to take a nap, I get a notification. Gronk has requested a trade.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this? So obviously, Rob Gronkowski gets traded from the Patriots with the 7th-round pick to Tampa Bay to be reunited with his little boy, Tommy Boy, his little quarterback down there. I'm a little, I guess, salty at them. Little biased, but at the end of the day, I am very excited for the Patriots. I just like to see how they do. I feel like this year is more of a. I'm more interested. It reminds me of like the year where Brady served a suspension and you had Garoppolo starting. Like I was very excited for that. Like it was just something different.
Yeah,
There's
that's
something
true.
different. Not that you can get sick of greatness, but you just knew every year, like, all right, Brady. There's no drama there. There's no
Right.
nothing new. Yeah, there's nothing new. I mean, he doesn't get injured. It's like it's gonna be him. So this year I'm very fascinated for. But anyway, Rob Gronkowski trade. Your thoughts, Keith?
All right, so I'll just tell my piece, and then you guys can feel free to piggyback or jump in whenever you feel like it. But as you guys had said on Wednesday, when this all happened, I was in the middle of work. I don't remember what time it happened or what time this all went down, but I was in the middle of work, so I had no idea that all this was happening with Gronk. Mike, I think you texted me and were just like, did you hear what's going on with Gronk? And like I got that text or whatever, and I was just like, dude, what happened? It can't be good if he's saying it like that. I don't know if he got like hurt or if he died or something like that, or if he got coronavirus. But no, come to find out, he's coming out of retirement. He's coming out of retirement to because he wants to play with the Bucks. So I have my own thoughts as to why both actually he and Brady decided to leave. And like I said, you guys can feel free just to jump in or piggyback or just say your own piece. But I'm going to start off with Brady first. I think that I was talking to my other buddy about this, and I think that after 20 years with the Patriots and 6 Super Bowls, I'm very grateful for Tom Brady and what he's done for New England. I'll always be a supporter of Tom Brady. I can't hate the guy, especially for all that he's done for us. I mean, he pretty much he gave Boston the title of Title Town. I mean, especially I mean, he literally made 2 separate dynasties if you think about it with the Patriots. So I can never be mad at him. But I think why he left, why he chose to leave, has to do with his relationship with Bill Belichick and himself. I think that they have a good relationship. I just think that Brady decided to leave because he wanted to prove that he can win without being in Belichick's system, if that makes sense. I mean, obviously, there's been debate time after time about who needs who to win. Does Brady need Belichick? Is he just a systems player? Or is Belichick riding the coattails of Tom Brady? I think that Brady left for Tampa Bay to prove that once and for all, he doesn't need to be in Belichick's system, or he doesn't need Belichick to win.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
I disagree. Here's why. I think I agree with your point that I think at the end of the day both of them would love to win without each other, but I think if Belichick even offered, there's talk that there wasn't even an offer to him this past offseason. I think if Belichick offered him even the year before when he wanted that extension, I think Brady would still be here as a Patriot. I really don't think Brady wanted to leave. I think if Belichick showed him the money or at least gave him a reasonable deal and at least made an offer to him, which again, there's reports that he got nothing. He got offered nothing. I think he'd still be here as a Patriot. I really do. I don't think he set out to go to that dump known as Tampa Bay. I can't see that. I really don't. I think if he got offered to stay here and it was a reasonable contract, he would be here. I think he'd still be here as a Patriot. Whether Gronk would be here, I don't think Gronk would be here. But I think Brady would still be here if Belichick offered him a contract. Do I think Brady wanted attention or maybe appreciation? Yes, but I think he would still be here if at least a contract was offered, because it doesn't seem like there was a huge market for him at all.
To talk about Gronk for a second, I always knew he was gonna somewhat make a return. People would call me crazy, but I just had a feeling because he would never close the door on the question, are you returning? He'd just always leave that door open. So for me, this wasn't really too much of a surprise. And I think this kind of foreshadowed Brady leaving. Him actually, because he said himself, I don't want to play with another quarterback unless it's Tom Brady. He always foreshadowed that. And then, like, if you see him saying, like, oh, like he's never closing the door on an opportunity to return, then that kind of leads to speculation that Tom was going to be out that door. But yeah, like you said, maybe for the fact that they didn't offer him a reasonable contract, I don't know. I didn't like how Kraft said if he wanted to be here, he'd still be here, because that kind of like there's some contradiction now. Like what actually happened? So I can't really know what actually happened. You know, there's reports from either sides.
Well, here's my thoughts on it, because going back to what you said, Mike, and what you said, Louie, too. I'm going to piggyback off that, especially with Kraft. I mean, Kraft in the past has gone out of his way to say, I'll do everything I can to keep Tom Brady on the team as a Patriot. So, I mean, he's gone out of his way to say that, I don't know, multiple times throughout Tom Brady's career, especially on the tail end, more towards, maybe the Atlanta and the Super Bowl with them, and even the Rams, he's gone out of his way to say that. And I think that they offered him a contract that wasn't too far off, if I remember. I think Brady wanted like 36 or something like that, but they offered him like 30. So they were only $6 million off, So I don't think it was that much discrepancy between deals. I mean, obviously the Patriots do have a lot of people on defense who are high paid or are very talented, like you got your Stephon Gilmore and not the McCourties so more, but you do have a very talented defense, Dante Hightower. I mean, you have a very talented defense, so you can't. I mean, I can see why Brady left, definitely for the money. I mean, he's on his back end of his career, so he wants to get a big payday before he leaves, before he retires. But I did think the Patriots made him a fair deal. Now, going back to Gronk, I think that Gronk definitely had some issues with Belichick as well.
Wait a minute, I'm sorry. Wait. So what was the deal you said that was made to him?
I forget exactly what it was.
Because what I heard was it was like 15 million.
No, I think it was more than that.
Or 20. It was like the same he got offered last year. Like, to him, that's a joke. I mean, I could understand, but
I don't remember exactly what it was, but I think it was more than that. I think we're talking upwards of maybe 25 to 30. I think he signed for 36 in Tampa Bay, if I remember correctly. But I mean, yeah, was it far off from what he wanted? Yeah. Do I think it was a fair deal for him, though, personally? Yeah, I think it was a fair deal. I mean, the guy is 32. The guy is 42 years old. People at the quarterback position do not play for that long at an elite level. And last season especially, you could see that he was coming to the cliff. Do I feel bad that he's not on the team anymore? Yes, I would have liked to have him stay as a Patriot his whole career. But for Belichick, and maybe even for Kraft, I don't know who is in charge of negotiating deals, if it's Belichick or if it's Kraft, if it's a combination of both of them. But I honestly wouldn't feel comfortable. I mean, I could see why they wouldn't feel comfortable giving him a deal that big, especially after he played last season. He wasn't really consistent. And you could say that it was because of the pieces around him weren't great. Yeah, he only had Edelman. But, I mean, if you watched a lot of his throws, I mean, they were just like, there were some passes that he overthrew. They were getting picked. They were, they were underthrown. They weren't making it there. He didn't look that great last season. And I can see why they didn't want to offer him a contract like that big. So I can see why on both sides, but I think that if I do think that money had a large part to do with it, but I just think that Brady went somewhere else for the money because he, like I said, he wants to be able to get a big payday before he goes out. And I also think that, like I said earlier, he wants to prove himself against Bill Belichick that he doesn't need to be there in order to win. He can do it on his own. Now, going towards Gronk. Gronk, I think, had some not real beef, but I think that Gronk didn't fit well in Bill Belichick's system. If you guys remember correctly, when Gronk retired, he said that he retired because he wasn't having football for him wasn't fun anymore. And if you guys know Bill Belichick only cares about winning. He doesn't care how it gets done. He wants to win. So under a Bill Belichick regime, I can only imagine how structured and how like thought out and meticulous this guy is. And you guys know Gronk. Gronk is a party animal. I forget what Super Bowl it was, where I think no, it wasn't a Super Bowl. It was like a regular season game where someone had scored a touchdown, and Gronk literally picked the guy up and gave him like a piggyback ride, and the guy was like doing like cowboy things, like on his back. And like Gronk, they were asking Gronk about that. He's like, "Why don't you do like more celebrations like and stuff like that? We like seeing that. It was pretty funny. That was pretty good or whatever." And Gronk literally said to them, "He's just like, oh, I got nervous. I can't do that. I'm gonna get in trouble." So I think that Gronk, playing under Bill Belichick, I think he played for us for 9 years. I think that it just got to be too much for him. He got burnt out playing under the Bill Belichick, system for so long. And I think that he retired mainly to do with just the way Bill Belichick was running things.
Agreed.
Now, so he took that.
He quit on us.
Exactly.
He quit on Belichick. He was never going to come back here, even if Brady came back here.
Exactly.
He says a boat full of crap in his press conference this week, where he said, it would have been a possibility. Dude, you weren't coming back to New England, man.
No.
You hated Belichick. Yeah. You hated it. And you know what? Yes, do I think Brady would have came back at the right price? Absolutely. But I think both of them, you've seen it. They both, Gronk always, but I think even with Brady, I think Brady just wants to enjoy himself. Yeah, I think he's going to come out. I think he's going to play. I think he's still a hard worker. But they didn't want the hard approach of Belichick. And I'm not going to get mad at Belichick yet because I think Belichick's had this plan for about 5 years. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. But, he was never coming back here, Gronk.
Yeah, change of scenery definitely benefit both of those players for sure. I think now they can go in, they can relax. The warmer weather's down there. It's a different culture now. They can kind of cultivate it themselves. Because Tampa Bay doesn't really have anything set in stone. Those guys are the guys those players are going to look up to. I mean, those are guys that have experience and they won rings.
Yep, I absolutely agree. Mike, what you said, I agree with that about Gronk. Gronk left the system, not wanting to come back. And I was actually surprised. Part of me thought that Gronk was going to stay retired, especially from all the injuries that he's taken during his career in New England. I mean, the guy gets beat up. I mean, you even heard him say, what was it, in the Super Bowl or like the playoffs leading up to the Super Bowl with the Rams, that he was having a hard time coming back from games because he was getting nailed so much. You know what I mean? Like he physically said that it took longer for him to come back from injuries, or getting hit. Like, if you got like a hit with like the helmet on the side of the thigh or on the leg somewhere, that his bruise would stay there physically longer, and it just took a lot out of him. And so I think that, that being said, he was going to stay retired. But so half of me was surprised when he came back to play with Tom Brady. That just like fueled my thoughts into why he had a riff with Bill Belichick. But I definitely think that under like what you were saying, Louie, under this new team, he's going to definitely obviously it's a new change of scenery. Bruce Arians right now is probably doesn't know what to think right now. This guy's probably like beside himself. He's probably thrilled. But I think that it's a good change of scenery for both Brady and for Gronk. Now, do I think that they're going to be able to live up to their past selves, to live up to that hype and that legacy that they made in New England? Are they going to be able to perform and match that? Honestly, I don't know. I think both Grady and Gronk right now are past their primes. Um, I do think they have a better supporting cast around them than they did in New England last year, or maybe even 2 years, the past 2 years, when both Grady and Gronk were on the team. But only time will tell. But I do think those guys, both of those guys, as sad as I am to say it, to see them leave and play somewhere else, that they're better off in Tampa Bay. And I do think that they have a pretty decent shot at probably a Super Bowl run because, as you know, they also have Chris Godwin and Mike Evans on that team as well. Very talented wide receivers. Probably some of the best in the league. At least top 10, both of those guys. And then they got Gronk and Brady on top of that. So.
And they have Howard too.
Yeah, they have O.J. Howard on top of that too. So I mean, they have a pretty stacked team.
I think they're gonna trade him.
Yeah,
they still got Brate. Cameron Brate's
true.
still down there too. They got to get rid of one of them. They can't keep all three of them.
That's
But
true.
the only reason, continue. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, I think that they have a good chance to perform well. Like the pieces are there for them to do well. I just don't know if they're gonna live up to that. But I am sad to see both of them go play for somewhere else. But for me personally, like I said, I won't be able to hate Brady. I don't hate Gronk. I don't have any saltiness towards them. I just wish them the best. I know we don't get to play them this year. I don't think in the regular season, but I do think that sometime down the road if they're still playing next year, if Brady doesn't retire and Gronk doesn't retire next year, I think there's a high chance of that too. But I would like to see that matchup, a Brady versus Belichick team. Is it going to make it to that point? I don't know, but that's definitely something that I'm definitely looking forward to.
Yeah, Gronk was smoking that CBD medic too. So on top of that,
he was taking that CBD oil bath. He was just getting in the tub full of oil.
He lost like 20 pounds, right?
Something like that.
25 pounds. So I don't when he returns and he goes back to Tampa where they play in the warmer weather. I don't think he's going to be that same physique Gronk that was in New England. Am I going to say he's not going to be as effective? No. He's still a beast. Don't get me wrong.
Well, if you remember, I mean, Gronk has been spending some time down in Tampa and Florida, specifically Miami, but he's been partying. He hasn't been playing. He's been partying his ass off down there. He did that during the Super Bowl week when they played when Kansas City played down there. I forgot who they played against. Who did they play against again? I don't even remember. That whole day for me was a blur. Who did they play? Who played in the last Super Bowl? It was Kansas City and who?
Jimmy G.
The San Francisco 49ers. I can't even remember. Yeah, Gronk was down there, but he was partying. So I don't know. Like you said, he did lose a lot of weight, so I don't know how he's going to do. But yeah.
They don't need him to be Patriots Gronk either, though.
No,
they don't need him to be that good.
They need him to draw like a double team that got somebody open. And that's all they need. He doesn't need to be, like you said, Patriots Gronk, but he is going to draw some attention from the defense, and that's just going to allow someone else to get open.
Absolutely.
But, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how it's going to be. I don't know if they're going to do well, but yeah, like I said, in my heart, Gronk and Brady are Patriots forever. Gronk helped us win 3. Brady helped us win all 6. And that's all I got to say about that. And I don't know what you guys think.
I think. Well, first of all, in terms of Gronk, I mean, I think it's a good trade from PR. I think the Patriots were able to get a draft pick out of just the thin air with this random.
Yeah, he came back and traded him for a pick. Yep.
Louie, to go against your point, I honestly thought in the beginning when he first retired that he was coming back. After I saw him sign the WWE deal and after Thanksgiving and not hear anything, I really thought he was done. I really did. I thought he was done. And I think he'd still be done if Brady did come back to New England. I think at the end of the day, Gronk's maybe going to make it 4 or 5 games tops. I don't think he's going to maybe a couple touchdowns. That's it. You didn't need him down there. You didn't need him. You didn't need him. This is just more so we're Tom's team now. We're going to listen to if Tom wants him, we're going to get him unless his name's Antonio Brown because Antonio Brown's just crazy.
He's in jail right now.
I don't think Tampa Bay really needed him. I think they'll do just fine without him because they are going to be without him. Let's just face it. It's the truth.
Yep.
It's fact. They're going to be without Gronk. Gronk is going to get hurt at some point or his body's not going to be able to take the beating anymore. Mm-hmm. And now, here's the thing. Tampa Bay only gives up a 4th-round pick. I think that's fair value. I don't think there's any. I think that's just the right amount of value to give up for Gronk at his age, at his health. I think if Patriots were able to get a higher pick out of them, what a steal that would be. But I don't think this was a steal at all. I think it was only a steal in the sense of they're getting a random draft pick for something that was never going to play for them ever again. It was a useless asset. And they were able to convert that useless asset into a 4th-round pick, which they're going to use tomorrow in the next round of the draft. So I think Gronk really maybe sees the light of day for 4 or 5 games. I think it's going to be too much of a beating for him. So I think that was a good opportunity for the Patriots to get something for him. I think that was a little blessing in disguise. Just quickly before I go into the draft, I think Belichick had this all planned out. I think Belichick's motto was, I'll trade in. Now, you can't question him. I don't think there was no wrong answer. There was no wrong answer for going forward with Jimmy Garoppolo and trying to win for the next 10, 15 years and trying to trade Gronk for a 1st-round pick. Or keeping both of them and winning and going to 2 more Super Bowls. Like, there was no wrong answer there. The only thing that gets me upset is when they traded Garoppolo, I think they were assuming that Brady was going to be here for longer than 2 years. And to only get 2 years out of Brady, when you had that next guy, even though I know Garoppolo is not on his level, obviously no one is, and I'm not saying Garoppolo is anything great, but that was the next guy. And Belichick had faith in him. And when he's on the field, he's a winner. He can win. Other than the Super Bowl, he crapped down his pants and he had a bad playoff game. But, I mean, me personally, I think under Belichick's system, I think Garoppolo would be very good. And I think that was his plan. His plan was to move forward. You remember they traded for Brandon Cooks, young wide receiver at the time. Yeah. That was for Garoppolo. Mm-hmm. Belichick had the plan, and Kraft stepped in and said, we're not getting rid of them. You're not getting rid of Gronk. Brady's like, I'm not playing if Gronk's not here. And vice versa. Gronk's saying, I'm only playing for Tom Brady. I think Belichick had the plan for the next 10 years. Yep. And Kraft stepped in. And again, was Kraft wrong? No, because they made it to 2 Super Bowls and they won 1. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, no. But I think this year, I think maybe Kraft had a little change of mind and said, well, I'm not going to step in on Bill again. Because if I do, then I'm losing his trust. I stepped in on him once. And it's up to this is his team. This is him. He needs to make the moves and he needs to lead this team. And if he fails over the next couple of years, then maybe we sit here and Bill Belichick's not our coach anymore. If he goes 4-11, 4-12, or 7-9 2 years in a row. And Stidham's not the guy, and they just traded another pick in the draft last night and traded back. So I think Belichick had the plan. But the only sad thing is to see that you traded Garoppolo for just 2 years of Brady. When I think not even Belichick, when I think Kraft thought you probably get 4 or 5. And I think that comes down to contract offers, obviously. At the end of the day, good trade for New England to get rid of that useless asset. But I think if Belichick had his way, I think you're probably trading in one of those Super Bowls for another 10-year run of at least contending. Maybe a Super Bowl. I think you're already in maybe year 2 or year 3 with Jimmy Garoppolo, and maybe Brady does move on to another team. But that's just my thought on that. I think again, fair trade for Gronk. In terms of the draft, obviously that started last night. The best part was having Goodell get the booze. That was funny.
Yeah, the virtual booze, that was pretty funny.
That was pretty funny. He's so phony though.
Yeah, he is. He's such a. You can tell. You can tell that he's got like a fakeness about him. How he does some things.
Yeah. I wasn't a big fan of Belichick trading that first pick.
No, me neither. I honestly think. I mean, we have a ton of picks. I think it's the 4th round. We have like 100 picks. Like it's something like 6 picks. I think that he should be moving up instead of moving down. I get that his game plan is. I think his scouting report. He's looking for people who play with a chip on their shoulder. He's looking for football players, you know what I mean? But I do think that he should be focusing more on moving up because he does have a lot of picks, like I said, in the 4th. I don't remember if it's the 4th or the 5th, but he's got a ton of picks towards the end of the draft.
Yeah, it's 3, 4, and 5.
Something like that. But it's all at the end of the draft. You should be moving those picks. You should be wheeling and dealing to try and, move up in the draft and get better picks. Now, my question to you guys is that do you guys think you can say it for what it is. We are in rebuild mode right now. Our defense, I think, is pretty solid, but on offense, I think we're on rebuild mode. So, who do you think, or what do you think we should focus more on right now? Should we focus more on helping our defense out because we do have a lot of older players on defense? As you remember, the McCourty brothers are in their 30s. I think like the average like age for our defense is probably like late 20s, like 30s, are pretty close to that. I think it's like mid to late 20s is like the average age for our defense. And then we also have an offense that's in trouble too. I mean, we're missing pieces from the offense. So for you guys, do you guys think that we should personally focus more on offense or defense this time around?
Well, I was gonna disagree with you until you brought up the point about the defense being old because I think they need to rebuild everywhere. Not rebuild. I think they need to draft. I think there's needs everywhere.
Right, but what do you
Other
think?
than other than quarterback, I think
Yeah,
honestly, if I'm them, I roll with Stidham and Hoyer for this year, and see if Stidham, because obviously it feels like Stidham's the guy, and I think through this draft, if you want to draft a quarterback later on in the sixth, seventh round, I think you go for the best available at offense, and I think there's holes everywhere. And plus, you need a kicker too. We need
yeah,
a
that's
kicker.
true.
There's holes everywhere. Is the defense solid? Yes, but they're old. They're old. I think with the offense too. I mean, you don't have you have a quarterback now, possibly two, who are going to be willing to work with these guys all year. Not to bash Brady, but it's just the truth. It's just the
Yeah,
truth. He didn't want to work with those guys last year.
that's true.
Other
Yeah,
than Edelman, he didn't want
yeah,
him. Or other than Brown, when Brown was there for that week. That was the happiest
right.
he was last year. Was when Brown
Yeah,
was
it
here
was
for that one
Brown for
week.
that one
Really,
week.
he didn't want to work with Myers and Harry. And I don't know
Right.
about you. I think Harry is injury prone, but I think he's solid. He made a
Yep,
couple nice plays last year. I
absolutely.
think he got a lot of unfair bashing. Now, if
Hmm.
this year he comes in and he absolutely stinks, then that's him. I think Jacoby Myers just never had a good relationship. I think Brady just didn't want to work with these guys.
I think
So I
Brady,
think,
like you said, yeah, Brady was checked out. He knew
yeah,
that this was the end for him. In
yeah.
New England at least. So
I
I
don't
agree
think
with that.
I still don't think Stidham is going to put up as good as numbers as Brady would this year, but I think Stidham will be more willing to work with them. So I think the offense will flow a little more comfortably. I think Sony Michel will have a little bigger year, even though I wasn't a big fan of him. I think he'll have a little bigger year this year. My whole point is I think there's holes everywhere. I really do. I think you take the best. Maybe another offensive wide receiver. Definitely tight end. You got to invest in the tight end. I think is their weakest position on the whole team, other than kicker, because you got no kicker.
Right.
Tight end. Tight end. I would say to answer your question, tight end is my number one priority, and then the rest I think is honestly just maybe some young linebackers, maybe a couple more wide receivers. I would go young. You still got those leaders on defense. You still got Edelman as a leader on offense. You still get James White as a leader on offense. I think there's holes everywhere. Number one priority, though, is definitely tight end. And
So,
making the defense younger.
so I agree. I agree with the fact that you said that there's holes everywhere. But that being said, going back to my question, which side of the ball, offense or defense, do you think needs the most attention when you draft people right now? I know. Kicker is a big thing. Special teams is its own thing. But there's literally two people. There's a punter and a kicker.
Defense.
Defense, you think defense needs more attention?
Just because of age. I think offense is young. I mean, it really is. Other than tight end. But, I mean, Sony Michel's, 23, 24. James White still, 28, or he might be a little bit older. Edelman's obviously old, but you still got Harry, who's young. You got Myers, if Myers makes it this year. You got him. Stidham's obviously a young quarterback. Offensive line's a little old, so I'd go there as well.
Mhm.
I think, again, number one priority is tight end. I think if you have a solid tight end, which they didn't have last year, that's going to open up a lot of options for the rest of the offensive players. So I would definitely go defense, getting some young linebackers in there. Some young they could really go young on defense and the offensive line.
Yeah. So my thoughts on this is I think that right now our defense is pretty solid. I do think that I would use some draft picks to touch it up, mainly in the areas where there are older players like McCourty, maybe like free safety or strong safety, or maybe even a pick for like a cornerback. But I do think that for me personally, I think that they need a lot of work besides special teams on the offensive side of the ball. I think that the Patriots, their defense, like I said, isn't that bad. It's pretty good actually, other than the fact that everyone's pretty old. But I think that the fact where we really struggle on offense is that We don't have a good, like you said earlier. We don't have a good, we don't have a good front. Our offensive line is terrible. I don't think they're mediocre. I think that if we had a good running game,
I think they're
especially
good. I think it's just the health.
what I think is that
They're not healthy.
I think we need to draft some more people for the offensive line because
Agreed.
The Patriots, when Brady played last year, he was under pressure almost every single play in offense. He was not him. He was a shell of him for myself actually last year. And was that because Joe Tooney or whatever was out? Our center,
Andrews.
David
Dave
Andrews,
Andrews.
excuse me,
Who's
David
coming
Andrews,
back, so
who's coming
hopefully,
back. So yeah, I mean he is
hopefully
the
that
captain,
helps.
but he is the best I think by far offensive lineman we have on that team. So I do think that the offensive line does need some tune up, but I think if we tune up the offensive line, that's going to open up everything else. If you block better, Stidham or whoever, I hope to God it's Stidham, because I'm tired of seeing Brian Hoyer back there behind center. He sucks. He can't really do anything. I think he's got almost as much like interceptions as he does touchdowns.
Hey, he had a
So
good preseason last year.
that doesn't mean anything. Those are against backups. Those are against third and fourth rounders right there. Third string, fourth string people. But I do want to see Stidham back there. I'm tired of seeing Hoyer, and I think that if you give Stidham a good offensive line, that's just going to be opening everything up. It's going to give him more time to drop back and pass, to read, and it's also going to open up the run game. If you got a good front, front four, front five, however many people you're running the front for the offensive line, it's going to open up the run game. I do think they need a tight end as well, but I do think that they should be focusing more on their offensive line and touch up other places like tight end, kicker, and the defense where it need be.
Yeah, I was
Now,
going to say, just to butt in for a second, I was going to say that their offensive line is something they definitely need to work on, and they're going to have to rely on the run game. I think Sony Michel still has another level to his game that we still haven't seen yet.
yep.
I think he's criminally underrated. A lot of people don't like him, but I think he's that
Including
type
me.
of back. Yeah, he's that type of back that gets like you kind of overrated, but he picks up these 4 or 5 yard carries. Like he's a really good player, and I think he's not also powerful, but he's fast too. He's not the most elusive guy, but I think
You think
can
Sony
rely on
Michel's fast?
I think he's fast. Yeah.
Oh my
Going
God! I saw
forward.
no burst of him last year.
I think he's a good power runner, but a lot of people forget. I mean, that we didn't have James Devlin, our fullback. I mean,
No, that's true.
we didn't have James Devlin for literally. I think he got injured like the second game of the season. So we literally had Landon Roberts. Landon Roberts
linebacker.
who's a defensive player. Yeah, a linebacker playing fullback. I mean, I think James Devlin is probably the best fullback in football right now. I forget what his stats were, but a couple of years ago, the guy can literally bench 350 pounds. He can move people out of the way. And I think that if Sony Michel had that opportunity to work with James Devlin and a great offensive line or a better offensive line than what we have right now, the guy's got a lot of potential, to be better than what he's shown us last year. And even that year where when Sony Michel ran the ball in for the overtime score, the walk-off win against Kansas City 2 years ago, I think he can be better than he was that season. But you got to draft offense. You got to draft offense. You got to fix the line, and you got to get James Devlin back in there.
Yeah. Now, see, when it comes to Sony, I agree and disagree. I agree that this could be a good year for him because I think he's going to get a lot more opportunity. With the offensive line, I don't think they weren't great, but I think they had no Andrews. Andrews was gone. Isaiah Wynn was coming off half a season of being on the IR. There was no chemistry there, and health was the big factor. Again, do I think they should draft? Of course, I think they should draft a few players for the offensive line to get younger. But when it comes to Sony Michel, I think, again, with having a better offensive line, with Devlin coming back, that's definitely going to help. In terms of explosiveness, I just don't see it. I was able to see, even with that porous offensive line last year, Rex Burkhead was breaking through holes. And I don't think he's that good. James White was breaking through. I love James White, but he was breaking through the holes. And he's not a power running back. He's a catcher.
No. That's
Michel
right, yeah.
could not break through. When those other two could do it, he could not break through. So I think this is a year for him. And if he doesn't do well this year, I think it's done. I wouldn't want him back here. I would love to see Damian Harris, the guy on the practice squad that they drafted last year as well, who started over Sony Michel in college. I
Yeah.
would love to see him get an opportunity this year. I just did not see any explosiveness with Michel last year. Yes, he was a big part of that run in that Super Bowl, the running game. And again, that was with a good offensive line. So
That's
I
true,
feel that's
yep.
getting better. I think he will have a better year. But to say he's explosive and to blame it all on him to blame it all on the offensive line last year, I'm sorry, but I saw Burkhead and stinking James White, whenever they ran the ball those few times, they were busting through holes. Burkhead would bust through 5 holes in a row. Then they give the ball to Michel, and he'd run right into the butt of the center. So it was like, I think I'm not a big fan of Michel. Let's just say that. I think with a good offensive line, a good fullback, I think he'll be good. But I just don't see it with him. I really don't. I really don't. Again, I see a good year from him this year, as long as the offensive line's healthy. But in terms of a no, I am not a big fan of him at all. And he offers nothing in the catching game either.
No,
That's a big part of Belichick's system,
yeah,
is
I
that
agree with
catching
that.
running back. Yes, they have that with White, but I mean, if Michel can do that too, then that's even better, and he hasn't shown that he could.
Yeah, I agree with that. To add into what you just said, yeah, 100% agree with that. They need to get him more worked into the catching game. I mean, right now, the only thing he's really got going for him right now is his running game. And if you remember, when they drafted him, Sonny Michel, you knew what kind of play they were running when they put him into the game. When White was in the game, he was 100% more versatile than Michel. Because when White was in the backfield, you didn't know if he was going to run the ball or if he was going to catch the ball from the backfield, if it was going to be like a running play. When Michel was in the backfield, that just gave it away to the defense. You know it's a run. You know it's coming. So, like you said, I do think
Exactly.
Yep. I think that he's gonna have a big year if the offensive line gets fixed and James Devlin comes back. If he does not have a good year when that happens, like you said, I think it might be time to move on from him. But if this year he's got what he needs, if he's got a better line, if he's got James Devlin, he should have no reason, like you said, to have a better year. But
well, factor this in too. But factor this in too. I remember when they first drafted him, that a lot of people were saying Sony Michel's only got a couple of years in the league because of his knees. He's playing. I think he plays bone on bone or something like that. So he doesn't have a long career in unless he breaks through that, which I would love to see, and God bless him if he can do that. But he doesn't have a long, in terms of health wise. It seems like he can be very fragile.
Yeah.
So
like a Brendan LaFell almost, in a sense, where because Brendan LaFell, I mean, he played with the Patriots. I mean, he was very inconsistent though.
Oh, yeah, it's one hit wonder. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, he dealt with injury as well.
I think more of Malcolm Mitchell when it comes to Sony Michel.
That's true.
Malcolm Mitchell, you don't win the Super Bowl without Malcolm Mitchell. He made some clutch catches in that Atlanta Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's true.
And then you never heard from him because he hurt his knee. He was so hurt. He was hurt.
Yep.
He was just bad knees, and he had to retire.
Yep.
And hopefully it doesn't happen to Sony Michel. I don't want to wish that on anyone, but
no, I hope he does good. He needs to do good. In order to keep his spot this year, I think he needs to do well. He needs to do, obviously, a hell of a lot better than he did last year. And I think that he almost like he needs to prove himself, because even in his rookie season when he had Brady, he had, you know, a better line than he did last year. I mean, I still think, you know, it wasn't anything that wowed me. You know what I mean? When I know Saquon Barkley was like the first overall pick, but when you see him hit the field, when you see him run,
explosive.
It's like, wow. I mean, that guy can run. When it's Michel, I mean, it's give or take. You know, does he have potential to hit good runs like that? Yeah, but it's not every time he had the ball. You don't know what you're going to get. It could be he could break off a run for 20 plus yards, or he can get stuck. You never know. But I feel like he definitely needs some help on the offensive line, but he definitely needs to prove himself as well. Other than that, if he doesn't do it this year, I think we should move on, like you said, to someone else. Damian Harris all the way. I'm on that train.
Absolutely. All right. Well, any final thoughts before we get into Keith's soft stool of the week?
I'm just curious to see what their receiving core is really going to look like opening day.
Yeah.
Just to see
Yeah.
who's out there.
I will say before you continue, right now, so far, as of this recording, they've drafted 2 defensive players.
Yep.
So
a linebacker.
yep.
and a
So
safety. I saw that.
So no offense pieces yet, which like I would love to see them draft a wide receiver or something, but
Yeah, they need to go. They need to go offensive line and
Yeah.
obviously a kicker. That's what they need right now.
Because they can't really rely on Stidham yet. They don't really know what he can bring to the table.
and that's why Michelle can have a big year.
Why are you going to draft all that talent, you know?
Yeah.
You can't get him the ball.
Why if Michelle can prove himself and break through those holes and the offensive line can help, then I think that'll definitely help Stidham's progression. But if there's no running game, then he's gonna have there's gonna be a lot more thrown on him.
Yeah,
if there's no running game.
Yeah, it's going to be bad news bears because I mean no quarterback going in. Obviously, it's a quarterback's worst nightmare. I mean you don't have a running game, so you're going to drop back pass every play, and the defense is going to take advantage of that because they know it's going to be coming. They just got to make sure they undercut the route or they pressure you to make bad throws. And for like a first-year, second-year player, for Stidham, where he hasn't really played that many or hasn't even started really, I mean, those errors, to force him into those errors, it's not going to take a lot. It's going to happen. It's a part of growing and learning. But I mean, if he isn't set up well, it's just going to be a bad time. It's going to be a bad time for him. It's going to be a bad time for us too to watch all that. I mean, I'll be a Patriots fan, until I die. But if they're not set up well, I mean, it's going to be hard to watch. It's going to be hard to watch. But I will say this for my final thought going forward. I am excited though to see what Belichick's going to do with this team going forward and how they're going to actually play come opening season. If they're going to even have it, I don't even know what all this Corona stuff going on. Yep. But I am looking forward to see what the Patriots are going to look like as a team post Brady because it's been in the back of everyone's heads, since I don't know, probably since like for me, I started thinking about him retiring when they won that Atlanta Super Bowl. Is he ever going to be able to reach this level again? I've been thinking about that for a long time. So now it's actually time to see what that's going to look like. So I'm excited to see what that's going to be.
Agreed. My final thought, I think biggest piece, unless something changes in the next 3 months, 4 months, and he wants out of town. But I think a big help for Stidham will be Edelman this year. I think Edelman is huge for Stidham this year.
He's a leader. He's a leader in the locker room. He's been
not that he's going to put up great numbers, but I think exactly the leader, the locker room, and just a consistency. If he can stay healthy, I think that'll definitely be a good transition for Stidham.
Definitely.
All right, well, that covers Gronk and the draft. Before we exit off, we got our soft stool of the week.
All right, so for our soft stool of the week, it's going to be a little different. I've been telling you some personal things going on with me and Eric, who was on not too long ago. We talked about The Last Dance with him. But for this one, you guys are familiar with Tracy Morgan, correct? You guys have heard of Tracy Morgan, a comedian, and also a star on the show, The Last OG. So what happened is I have some audio for you guys. It's actually pretty hilarious. Hold a copy from the Today Show actually interviewed him, asked him some questions about what he's been doing during this quarantine. So I just want to play this for you. It's like a 30-second clip, and it's hilarious. I want you guys to listen. Check this out.
Tell me about what life is like being at home for Tracy and his family.
Oh, well, me and my wife been quarantining in for like 3 weeks, so she's pregnant 3 times. Every week she got pregnant.
Okay. So,
we're role-playing a lot now. We're role-playing, she's playing a young maiden.
Okay.
My grandfather was infected with coronavirus, and I'm the scientist who discovered the cure, and she'll do anything to save her grandfather's life. I mean, anything.
Well, you are a creative one. All right, so...
I mean, oh my God, dude, that happened 2 weeks ago, too. I didn't even realize that. Dude, Tracy Morgan is awesome, dude. He tells it like it is. That was hilarious. Dude, that was on live TV, too. So they couldn't even, cut or any of that stuff out.
We've been doing a lot of role playing, too.
We've been doing a lot of I've been playing as a scientist. My wife's been a fair maiden whose grandfather got infected by the coronavirus, and she will do anything to get that cure. I mean, anything. How do you even respond to something like that on live TV?
You don't.
Yeah, you don't. Oh my God, that was hilarious. And it's the soft stool of the week.
Eat your fiber.
That's right. Eat your fiber.
That was good. Always good. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening. Just before we leave, if you like to sponsor us, we are on anchor.fm/studs podcast. Find us on there. We're streaming on Spotify. Obviously on YouTube, you can like, comment, subscribe on our page. We're on Facebook, and we're on 7 other streaming platforms as well. We just like to dedicate this episode to a close person to Louie and I. Coach Dan Missoula from Johnston, Rhode Island, passed away on Wednesday. We're going to definitely dedicate an episode to him and just discuss our stories. But just wanted to share our condolences with the Missoula family. Absolutely devastated. Big impact on my life, and I know he definitely had a big impact on Louie's life as well. So definitely thinking with him, thinking with his family, and this is dedicated to you, Coach. So thank you for everything, guys. Have a great one.